Hello and welcome to the Met Office 10-day trend. The weather is certainly a hot topic of debate at the moment, no pun intended. Many people desperate for some rain, but equally quite a few people keen for this hot and sunny weather to continue, and maybe in the unique position over the next few minutes to disappoint pretty much everyone. Because the weather forecasts, well, it's not straightforward. It is going to be complicated for the next few days. Well, one thing we can be fairly sure of is that the temperatures in many places and the humidity will be back on the rise. If you're desperate for some rain, well, the next line isn't good news. We're not expecting huge amounts of it over the next few days, but there is the likelihood of some thunderstorms on Friday. More on that in a moment. And then into next week, well, as I said, it gets complicated. A bit of a battleground going on. And again, we'll have more on that in just a moment. First of all, let's take a look at the big picture. High pressure, we've seen that in control for much of this summer. Weak weather fronts trying to topple in over the next couple of days. I'm just going to run through that sequence again, but show the temperature, the air temperature, and how we could start to see some very warm air pushing up from the south. But equally out in the Atlantic, we've got some very warm air starting to drift in. So the UK kind of being attacked from two sides by hot air. This weather front will bring some cloud and patchy rain across parts of the north during Friday. But ahead of that, that first plume of warm air coming up across the east of England could see temperatures again up to 30 degrees. But unlike many a hot spell recently, this one could also bring with it some thundery downpours, and there is the potential for some quite vicious storms across parts of East Anglia and the southeast on Friday, and we do have a warning in force already for that. For more information on that warning, visit the Met Office website. Now, as you go beyond Friday, that weather front kind of fizzles out, and then another one kind of topples in. Again, we're still dominated by high pressure. The high is tending to slink away, but these weather fronts are moving in. Now, again, I'm going to run through that sequence again through the weekend, because it's important to note that the weather fronts don't kind of sweep through. They just kind of move in and sort of fizzle out. So they kind of die across the UK. That adds to the complication because it just leaves a legacy of cloud with some bits and pieces of rain here and there. And again, if you look at the temperatures, well, we can see that although the hot air across the southeast does temporarily drift away, now the warmer air out in the Atlantic starts to push its way more widely across the UK. So we will see the warmth building again, humidity building again through the course of the weekend. With those weather fronts kind of fizzling out, well, they may bring a little bit of rain, but not much. Most places will stay dry, but they will leave a legacy of quite a lot of cloud around. So it could be one of those weekends, not one of those crystal clear blue sky weekends that we've had many of recently. It will be predominantly cloudy, and it will be increasingly humid and not great for sleeping. So that is something to bear in mind through the weekend. How does it look beyond that? Well, I talked about a battleground, and that's exactly what we're talking about as we go through Sunday and into Monday. Now, we've still got the warm air at this stage across the southeast, but this weather front is trying to introduce, look at this, the green colours here, cooler air trying to push back in from the Atlantic as we go into next week. And this is the battleground. This is the big question mark about next week. Which will win out? Will we keep the warm air, or will this cooler, fresher Atlantic air move in? Well, this is one of the computer scenarios as we go into next week. You can see the warmer air sticking around early next week across England and Wales, but the cooler air pushing in across Scotland and Northern Ireland. But that's just one scenario. Another computer model suggesting that actually the warmer air is more likely to win out and certainly stick around a bit longer into next week. And again, those temperatures with those dark orange colours could again be in the high 20s or possibly up to 30 degrees Celsius. So which will it be? Well, it all depends really on the position of a weather front. The weather front marks the boundary between the warmer air and the cooler air. I'm going to show you the setup through next week and show you the uncertainty, if you like. Again, this is one of the computers and its scenarios here. The blue line, each individual blue line is a position of the weather front depending on the different computer scenarios. So you can see here that we are looking generally at that weather front on Monday being somewhere across Scotland or Northern Ireland. I'm going to take you forward now to the projections for Wednesday. There's the UK there. You can see the pale blue outline of it. But if we fast forward to Wednesday, just shows you the uncertainty because the frontal positions are now much more widespread. That weather front could be down across Kent, but equally it could still be sitting up across the northwest of the UK. So there's a lot of uncertainty about the position and therefore the boundary of that hot air compared to the Atlantic fresher air. So, as I said, there's a fair bit of uncertainty about next week. What we do know is there'll be that battleground going on, the hot, humid air across the east with the risk of thunderstorms, fresher and cooler conditions trying to push in from the west. At this stage, we're just not sure where that line will be, so we will, of course, keep you updated and, of course, stay up to date for the latest on those thunderstorms, possibly on Friday.